10 weeks.
Great.
Yeah, and he had a little yellow outfit on, and we'll never forget that. And he looked so cute. And she had told us before we went in, now, if you decide you don't want to adopt this child, tell us right away. And it was like, are you kidding? And as soon as we saw him, we just wanted to melt. I don't know, Steve just felt like he was going to melt.
I can remember the room. I can remember what Jeff was, the baby was wearing. I remember what the other two women that were in the room with us were wearing. You know, it was just like I have that total picture in my mind. As bad as my memory is at this age, but it was just a vivid memory. And the idea that we might walk out of there without a child, if I didn't say it to the woman, I know I was thinking it. You don't know this woman. She's not leaving without that child.
And it was love at first sight. Just like when you have a biological child born, it was love at first sight for us, which is
That's
just
so wonderful. This is your coach, Bill Goodwin. Welcome to the Priority Living Podcast. Hey, this is Coach Bill, and I want to welcome you to another episode here on the Priority Living Podcast. I have some incredible friends and wonderful guests today. You're going to hear their journey. You're going to hear their story, and you're going to be blessed. If I were to sum up our theme for today, it's when life doesn't go according to plan, and hope through every chapter. So let me ask you, have you ever had life not go according to your plan? You might be in that season right now, and I'm so glad that you tuned in. I do value you taking the time to join me here. And so without any further ado, I don't have a long bio. I just want you to know that they're my friends, and you're going to hear their story. So please welcome to the show my friends, Steve and Sandy Anderson. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Bill. Thank you.
Is indeed.
We first met in 1990. Now, some of you listeners weren't even born yet, so that really dates me. But I was an intern in Minnesota. I had lived in Arizona at the time and had an opportunity to be an intern in youth ministry. And through some circumstances, Steve and Sandy became my host family. And that's when our connection and relationship began. So grateful for them being willing to come and share their story. I know that it's going to be an encouragement to you. So Steve and Sandy, let's just jump right in. Tell us about the two of you. How did you meet?
Well, it was an unexpected meeting on a blind date. It was a date. I was home from school for my freshman year of college and had plans for the evening. They were interrupted by some circumstances, and we had a mutual friend, someone that knew Sandy and knew I, who had set up a blind date. Only the partner that he had in mind for her bowed out. And so he begged me if I would please take his place on the blind date. I did. That's the end of that story.
And we had a
That's
great
amazing.
time together. Yeah. Yep. And we had so much fun together that night. We went to his sister's synchronized swimming meet, of all things. And
wow.
Yeah, and he thought
okay.
he was kind of embarrassed. He was kind of embarrassed about that, but
I was.
But I loved it. We had fun, and we realized that we had a lot of similar life experiences and family life that was very similar, and just really had fun together. So that's how it began with us.
She laughed a lot and made my jokes seem, comedian-like, which I'm sure they were not. But yeah, so I was pretty well enamored with her company.
And she's still smiling and laughing at your jokes all these years later, Steve.
Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's always true, but
yeah. Well, so Sandy, did you know that at the time Steve was the backup blind date, or did you think he was just the blind date you were having?
I thought he was just the blind date I had. Yep. And it turned out it was his best friend, which we're still really good friends with. And so, yeah. Yep. So, and he didn't go because of his girlfriend found out, and
who he now married.
And now he's married to her, and the four of us are friends.
Yeah. We were best.
Okay.
I was best at his wedding and vice versa.
how long ago was this, and how long have you guys been married? We kind of get a scope of when this blind date took place, and then how long you've been married.
Yeah, our blind date was 56 years ago. And so we've been married for 54 years. We were married 2 years later and lived in Bemidji where he went to college, his last year of college. And yep, just been married that long, and we can hardly believe it that we've been married 54
Isn't that
years.
amazing? That's right. So
Yes.
if our friend that's listening is single and thinking about a blind date, here's a story that it actually can work out.
Yep.
And it can work out for the long run, right?
It can work out.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. So what were your dreams as a young couple? You get married, and can you think back to, like, did you have some dreams for your future and what your family could be like? What were your dreams for the future as this young married couple?
Yeah, I think we just wanted to be together and have a family together. That was our dream. It's just kind of growing. We grew up both in great families and had wonderful lives as children, and we wanted that for our family and our kids.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think we had any.
Yeah.
I was never a great goal setter. Still, I'm not very much of a good goal setter, but I don't think there were any hard goals per se. I think the idea was just we'd grown up in, as Sandy said, great families, and probably wanted to parrot those kind of relationships and those kind of times together, fun and togetherness and vacations and all the stuff
enjoying
that
life
families do, especially young families.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, none of us know how different life can become, maybe from the picture that we have in our mind. And early on in your marriage, you identified that some of your hopes and dreams maybe will not come to pass, or may come to pass in a different way than maybe you originally thought. When did you realize or discover that having children might not be easy for the two of you?
Yeah, we wanted to start a family, and we'd been married several years, and I was not getting pregnant. And we just never thought that that would be difficult. We just expected that we would start a family. And 7 years and still did not have a family. So that was really difficult.
So many people today, so many couples are dealing with infertility for one reason or another. Just dive in here a little bit. What emotions did that those 7 years of infertility? What emotions did that bring up that people rarely talk about? What was that like for you?
I think just speaking from my perspective alone, it was watching Sandy grieve every month about what didn't happen. When you have a young woman who's, loves children, love being in a family, love having siblings, the idea that, that may be difficult for us was probably something that I know she grieved regularly, and every month when she wasn't pregnant, it was like, oh boy.
But having him be understanding of that grief that I was feeling probably more at that time than he was really helpful for our marriage. That he was sticking by me through this, even.
Yes. There's more conversation openly about infertility in today's world than 50 years ago. But looking back, what do you wish friends or family had understood about infertility that they didn't at that time?
I think it's painful every month, but once we started having children, which we'll get into, that pain for us went away, and for me went away. And so, but now, having gone through that pain of infertility, I'm very much more aware of how
Hard.
how hard it is for these young couples. So there's so many times when we can pray with and talk to people about what they're going through, which has been so helpful. I would have never understood that if I wouldn't have gone through that. I'm
Absolutely.
thankful that we have that to draw on to help other people.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I love the phrase. I'm not sure where it originates, but the phrase that we are most qualified to help the people we once were. And in this case, what you said, Sandy, is that's absolutely the truth with the infertility portion and other portions of your story that will, like you said, that we'll get to. I know that what I love, our connection with each other is that we're all people of faith. And I love that you mentioned about praying with people. So was there ever a moment, though, that you wondered in that 7-year period, was there ever a time that you possibly wondered if maybe God had forgotten you because your desire was to be a family like the families that you grew up in? Did you ever have a moment where you wondered, has God forgotten us?
It's like you want to say to God, what about us? All these people are having children. Lord, what about us? And it does feel sometimes like God has forgotten you because it's painful to go through that, and you don't want to have to go through pain. And oftentimes you think that God's not there because you're in pain. So I understand that feeling.
I can't say as I remember, real specifically how we felt at that time. It's been 54 years. But the reality is that I think I felt like there were so many other options. And I think even though infertility and other fertility options are so much more available today than were available back when we were that, of that, young family age, didn't exist, so the fact that we saw other options, we knew of other options that were available to us to start a family. Now, they weren't biological, but there were other options.
Absolutely. Well, that leads us right into this first hope chapter of your story and the other options. So how did adoption become a part of your story? Because our friend listening is going to hear this journey of adoption now that's so wonderful. So how did adoption become a part of your story? And was that an easy decision for you in light of your circumstances?
I think both of us were really open to the concept. I don't think it was like, oh, this is the 4th or 5th or 6th plan. I think the idea that adoption was an option, pardon the pun. But I think that, we were so open to that it wasn't, it was an easy part of the story.
Yeah. And we feel like that's God's grace, that we both felt that way.
Yeah.
That we both thought we should look into adoption, even though the doctor had told me you're going through a lot of infertility issues with endometriosis and all this. Give us some more time. We just were ready to have a child. And so that's why when we decided, let's pursue adoption.
Yeah.
Which turned out to be wonderful.
Yeah. So tell us about the child that you adopted and how you now went from a household of 2 to a household of 3.
Well, we quickly, one of the things that wasn't a harder option back then was the guarantee of having a child of the exact same race. Okay, there weren't a lot of, and if you wanted an infant, that's the other thing I remember. So one of the things that was that we opened our eyes to very quickly when it was exposed to us was a cross-cultural adoption, an adoption of a different than our race or a mixed race child,
which we both were excited about.
Yeah,
and went through
specific counseling for it.
Yeah, right. Counseling for that, which was really helpful. There was a lot of things that we learned through going through that experience.
Yeah, and I think that maybe that person listening right now might struggle with the fact that, but my family would never accept that. I can honestly say My father, who's been gone for several years now, was a little bit of a concern just on the surface level at first. He absolutely became our son, our first and oldest child, his flag holder. He would do anything for that boy.
So yeah, but
That's
they
so
helped us.
wonderful.
Yeah, counseling really helped us work through that and talk to our parents about it, so that I think once they knew that we understood what we were getting into, that they felt better.
Yep, I think that's right.
And neither one of us will never forget the first time we walked into the room, and they were holding our little Jeff, who was 10 weeks.
Great.
Yeah, and he had a little yellow outfit on, and we'll never forget that. And he looked so cute. And she had told us before we went in, now, if you decide you don't want to adopt this child, tell us right away. And it was like, are you kidding? And as soon as we saw him, we just wanted to melt. I don't know. Steve just felt like he was going to melt.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the room. I can remember what Jeff was, the baby was wearing. I remember what the other two women that were in the room with us were wearing. It was just like I have that total picture in my mind, as bad as my memory is at this age. But it was just a vivid memory, and the idea that we might walk out of there without a child. If I didn't say it to the woman, I know I was thinking it. You don't know this woman. She's not leaving without that child.
And it was love at first sight. Just like when you have a biological child born, it was love at first sight for us, which is just
so wonderful.
Yeah.
So taking your little baby Jeff home, did that experience then change your understanding of, what makes a family and what it's like now to be a family?
Yeah, I think that the idea of, no, I don't think it changed anything. I think the reality was that we didn't have a 2-day-old child. Obviously, he was 10 weeks old when we first were introduced to him and took him home that afternoon. But I think that it just melted right into the formula, albeit maybe fast forwarding 10 days or 10 months, 10 weeks rather. So I think other than that, I think it changed much of anything. Do you?
No, and probably as we walked down the road of adoption, as he grew, we did encounter specific issues, that behavioral issues, things that he went through, attachment issues, that are something that people need to be realistic about, that can happen when you adopt a child. But it never, ever changed our love for him or ever made us think about anything. Just like if you have a biological child and they are disruptive to your life, you don't think, oh boy, I wish I didn't have it. I never had that child.
Right.
You never think that.
Right.
But definitely never thought that with Jeff. We just loved him. And when people say you love him as your own, and we would say he is our own. He is our own.
Absolutely. As I've heard that from other adoptive parents as well, that, it's not my adopted child, it's my child. And I love the way the human connection can take place in that way. So then you had, fast forward a little bit, you had an unexpected miracle. This is going to make our friend listening smile here. So what happened? What was the life surprise that happened? And how old was little Jeff when this miracle happened?
Well, he would have been 3, I think, at the time it happened. We had already begun the process of preparation and counseling and going also through all the emotions that you have to go through with adoption, of getting a second child, with the idea that we wanted another child that looked more like Jeff, so that he wouldn't look in the room and just necessarily see 2 white folks. I think that that process was in place, and we were just waiting for a name and waiting for that chance to go down to that room once again and pick up
Mm-hmm.
the baby. Okay. And Sandy got a call, or I got a call, I'm not sure who called who, that said she was at the doctor's office and the doctor had some amazing news.
And we found out I was pregnant. And
Oh my
totally,
goodness.
yeah, totally shocked that that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so happy. Although we did grieve over not being able to get that child we were already starting to fall in love with, that we were going to adopt. We did grieve that.
Mm-hmm.
But then as life goes on, and the pregnancy went on, and it was just a wonderful season for us. And then not too much farther down the road, I got pregnant again.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, another miracle.
Another miracle. You got double for your trouble. There you go.
Yes. And we had another girl. So we had Jeff and two girls. So
two girls.
It was
and
wonderful.
Now you're a family of 5. And so this picture that you had as a young couple about, having a family and experiencing the joys, the challenges that come to, but the joys of having a family. And what were those years like? What were those days like in your house?
I don't know. I guess I didn't live in anybody else's house with children, but I would say that they're identical to everybody else's house. And I'd say that
thinking about how Tara was, she was, she was like part of Jeff and part of Kelly. Like she would be out playing football with Jeff and playing dolls with Kelly. So we would just have so much fun with that, watching them interact between them and how much they loved each other. And we just loved having 3 kids.
Yeah.
It was great.
And we just didn't look at it any differently than any other family would look at it, I don't think. And the fact that Jeff was pretty wild, and this little one, the baby Tara, was pretty crazy too. One of my favorite pictures of her is she's wearing his football outfit and kind of running through him, this little blonde towhead, But yeah, I think what Sandy said is right.
And your older daughter, Kelly, what was Kelly like as a little girl? She's a grown woman and a mother today, but what was she like as a little girl during that time?
She was just the one that if we would have just had Kelly, we would have thought we were perfect parents.
Yep.
Because she would walk toddle over to a cupboard and try to open it, and I'd say, no, don't go in that cupboard, and then she never did it again. And that didn't happen with Jeff and Tara. So she just has always been like that. Very sensitive, very obedient,
compliant.
Very kind, gentle person. And she still is today. She is. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you've gone from you met on a blind date to going through infertility, having this wonderful adoption, and years later the surprise of not 1 but 2 miracles of giving birth to these girls. Your house is just filled with energy, and like you said, Steve, probably like every other house with children for the most part. And then there was a day that everything changed for you. If you'd be comfortable sharing, tell us about the day that changed your life and your family forever.
Yeah, I remember most when Tara had a headache one day, and that headache kept getting worse and worse. And finally we had to bring her into the doctor, and he admitted her into the hospital. And that night, or the night after, I can't remember, night after, Steve was home with the other kids and I was with her, and she had an aneurysm that they didn't know about. It's called an AVM, but it's like an aneurysm burst in her head. And they took her into surgery right away, but she had just a massive bleeding in her brain. So I the hardest thing for me to get over is the screaming that she had, the pain that she
Mm,
before that.
mm,
And it still is
my
to talk
goodness.
about it, but yeah. And I think when that happened, and then in the surgery wasn't, they couldn't do anything for her. And she was declared brain dead. And they asked us if we wanted to hold her before they took her off the life-saving support. And we left her on life-saving support so she could donate her organs. And that's a whole story.
How old was, yeah, Sandy, tell us, how old was Tara when this took place?
She was 4 years old when this took place. Yes. And so we held her before we said goodbye to her. And walking out of that hospital was probably the hardest thing we've ever done, is walking away from that. And she's still on life support, but they did all the tests. They took her off life support to make sure she had a brain death. But yeah, the hardest thing we've ever done is to walk from our baby.
Yep.
Yes.
And I think, I say a part of us, I think part of us died that day, of each of us.
Yep.
It just happens.
Yep.
Yeah, really hard. Really.
And it would have been true of that for anybody else.
Yeah.
Anybody else that's experienced that, I'm sure feels the exact same way.
Yeah, that there's nothing worse than when your child dies.
Yep. Defeats the chronology.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. My goodness. It's the unthinkable thing for any parent. And here, the turn of events that was so unexpected and at such a young age, to, as parents and even your older two children, to go through that loss of Tara. It pains my heart even as we talk about it here today. So thank you for sharing that part of your story. What happened inside each of you as you began to try to comprehend what just took place, and as that grieving process was taking place in your life, not only for you as a mother, Sandy, and you as a father, Steve, but also your older two children as well? What happened inside of you when this took place?
I feel like someone told us once, you'll both feel like you're drowning and you won't be able to help each other. And that's what it feels like. You're just drowning and you can't reach out and help the other person because you're drowning yourself. And so it's really hard to keep going. But people told us how many divorces there are after the loss of a child. And so we asked people to pray about that for us, that our marriage would stay strong through that. And I remember one thing that Steve said to me that I'll always cherish. He said, I know I lost my little girl, but you lost your baby. And I'll never forget that. Wow. Because I knew he understood the pain that I was going through, instead of just saying, well, I'm having pain too. But he acknowledged that it was different, and that was helpful for me.
Wow, that's so wonderful to know how people were a part of the healing process by having the right thing to say at the time. And I know that for all of us, me included, sometimes when there's loss, we don't really know what to say. And so sometimes we don't say anything, but sometimes trying to have good intent, people say the stuff that is absolutely the wrong thing to say, like, well, at least your loved one's in a better place, or, whatever those kind of things are. Friend, if you're listening, don't say that stuff. So let's learn from this couple. I love that.
Other children.
Yeah.
Or at least you have your other children. That's another one. Doesn't help.
Right. So help us help us to know how to best come alongside someone in our life should there be a loss of whatever family member. What, what were some of the things that you remember that was comforting for you, and what were some of the things that maybe would be things to stay away from?
Well, I think you've already said it a little bit, Bill, is that there are certain things you can say that not only are not very helpful, but they're pretty destructive, to the individual.
Mhm.
I mean, and I'd say that one of the things that was the most helpful to me early on was silence is also not helpful. I have one of my sibling. We wondered if she even cared what we were going through, because she didn't ever say anything. But the problem was she didn't have any idea what to say, and that's why she
Mhm.
was so silent. The best answer that I think I heard, that at least I remember hearing, is that I don't know what to say. That was their response to me or to us. We
Mm.
don't know what to say. And I'd point to them and I'd say, that's the right answer. And I hope you never do,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right.
because they haven't experienced it. And unless you've experienced it, you're not a part of that club, and it's not a club that anybody wants to join. It's just
That's right.
it's the idea that pain is just unexplainable, and the fact that we all take that pain and absorb that pain and react to that pain differently makes it all that much more complex and complicated.
Right.
Mhm.
So I think that the idea of the best thing that you can do is to say you're praying for someone. If you know they have a good community around them, especially if it's a believer, or someone who has really close friendships that go deep, that's the anchor. The anchor is the prayer
Mhm.
of a God that loves us and cares for us, and a community that wants to walk alongside you in this process.
And doesn't leave you like a week
Mhm.
later. Um,
Yeah, after the
Yes.
funeral.
in your sorrow, that are still there for you and coming around to go for a walk with you, to mow your lawn, to give you a meal. That's so helpful. But also, I want to say it's helpful to have grace
Yeah.
if you're going
Mm.
through a difficult time,
Yes.
because knowing people don't know what to say. Sometimes I remember looking at someone sitting on the couch talking to me. He was just talking and telling me all these things that were not helpful at all. But I just kept looking at him and I thought,
Mm.
he's here. So I just thought, you're here, you care, you want to help. You're not really helping me, but I'm just gonna
Mhm.
just believe that you care, and
Yeah.
that's enough. And
And
that's
Yeah.
enough.
yeah. Yeah, and yeah,
That's really
that's a really
good.
good point.
End up bitter, and you can be mad at everybody
Mhm.
because people don't know what to say. And oftentimes I've said the wrong thing to people,
Yeah,
and not
Mhm.
not because I intentionally wanted to hurt them.
right.
So
I think
Yes.
that's too cliche that all vacuums must be filled. And I think people think they need to say things just to show that they care. And I think that's a really good point that Sandy just made, is giving somebody else grace for sometimes they're being silent, so that they don't say something that's even harder, and say something that's even more
Mhm.
difficult than nothing would have been. So there's a balance there, and I think to have grace and I think that's something you learn, but it takes a while. It doesn't just click in. At least it didn't click in like that for us. At least for me, I should say anyway.
Mhm.
It's something that you realize that, well, maybe they do care. They just don't know what to say.
Yes. So true. This is helpful. This is so helpful I think it's good to have it's a conversation we don't have often in our society or our culture. And so that's part of why it's a little bit taboo, that we don't know how to respond. But I think this is helpful. My goodness, we could dive in here about your grief journey and the healing process. I mean, we could talk for another hour about that. We're kind of hitting the tops of the waves on some of this here because your story is your journey is so full. Um, But I do want to ask this before we move on, as we think about little 4-year-old Tara, that what part of your daughter Tara still lives inside of you today, all these years later, as you think about the impact she made on your life?
Definitely, we both feel God has given us a zest for life through our grandchildren. One of them was actually born on Tara's birthday, which to us was just a beautiful gift from God. And now we celebrate our grandson's birthday that day instead of having
to grieve over Tara.
Yeah, and we still think about Tara and miss her, but we see how God has given us joy in the sorrow, and there's nothing like it. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. Steve, what about you?
Yeah, I'd say that just the memory of her laughter, her smile, her infectiousness, her I'm probably more of an outward person, and I just loved the way she would attack things, and so my memories of her is just seeing the smile on her face and seeing the little twinkle in her eye, and imagining some of the situations that the way she responded to certain things. I just bring those back, and kind of relive those to be able to tell myself, what a gift it was to have her, even for a short time.
Yes, life is a gift. That is for sure. So let's move forward with finding hope again. Here's where your story, there's a long process of grief, and you're each coming up from drowning and coming to a place. Was there a moment where you began to feel hope returning into your heart, individually and in your home? And how did God meet you in that darkest season?
I think for both of us, we would probably say being in Bible study was what really helped us. Yep. Because we weren't just focusing on what we didn't have anymore. We were focusing on the future and the joy that God gives us, having hope in Him, in Christ. So I would say for both of us, that was just such a gift that we got so involved in Bible study.
Yep. Well, I think that, even the reality is that for me, and this to be true, because I've told you this, is that God gave us you. And had we not had you at that time, I think things could have been even harder. I don't know that. It's not something I experienced, which I'm grateful for, because you gave me personally hope, because you pointed me to Christ. And for that, I will eternally be grateful.
That's such an honor, Steve, that you would share that you've had that experience. And I think that Christ becomes the anchor. Your faith becomes the anchor. And it was definitely providential that I had the opportunity to live at your home while I was the intern, which was just months before this situation with Tara came about. So isn't it amazing how good God is, that he even looks out for us before we know we need what He gives to us. And that definitely is part of our story together.
Amen. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I concur with what Sandy said too, is the whole idea of, I think, and the reason I mentioned where I found hope is because that opened the door to make that even more appealing to me, to pursue, a Bible study and pursue a greater relationship with the Lord. That was a thing, I think, in my life at that moment.
Yeah, that it was a relationship, not just a religion.
Yeah.
That Jesus wanted an intimate relationship with us.
Yep.
And that opened the door for us to want that more and more.
Absolutely. Yep. Well, as we're on the Priority Living podcast, um, let's talk a little bit about priorities. Like, how did this whole experience, now as you're finding hope again, and your faith is coming more alive, and you're working through the grief and the loss, but how did this experience change your priorities when you look at how you were choosing to live your life from that moment forward? How did this experience change your priorities?
Well, I think there's a couple different fronts in my mind that for me that it changed. Number one, it changed my career priorities. It changed I was on a track, by the world's design, to have a very successful business career. And I enjoyed my business career. But I realized that reaching for the brass ring, as I used to say to colleagues, isn't all that there is. That I didn't need to be king of anything because I wasn't even king, or I couldn't even control my own life, or my own family's life, and that became very real to me. So it changed that priority totally. It just said, work hard, provide for your family. It didn't throw me into a hermit's role, but it changed my focus on what was important and what wasn't. And I think the other thing it did was it just again, we talked about this a second ago, but it refocused my attention on community and on my spiritual life.
Mm-hmm. And
so true.
It was, for me, it was cherishing my family life and being a mom at home all the more, and not being, just not falling apart over little inconveniences anymore, because I realized how short life and fleeting life could be. And it helped me really look at how beautiful life is, and that God can bring so much joy. And I would constantly pray for eyes to see those gifts that he gives us.
Yes.
So that's what it is.
So,
yeah.
Oh, that's so good, you guys. So good. Well, we've got a few more moments here, and I just want to press in here with some encouragement for our listener. My goodness, there's so many added questions I want to ask about all the things that we've already talked about. It's been so good sharing your story and your journey with us. If someone listening today is struggling with infertility, what would you say to them to give them hope?
That God cares for you, and he weeps with you every month that you go through this, and that he has a plan for your life, and it's always good. And that even though it doesn't feel like it, we need to trust him through the hard days. He is trustworthy.
Mm-hmm. And what about the person that might be listening today and they're grieving the loss of a child or a family member? What would you say to encourage them today?
Well, I'd say that God wants to comfort you too. He is there for us through all things. He's omniscient, he's sovereign over all, and he is the source of the comfort that you require at any given moment. We just need to go to him and just bask in his goodness.
And believing the truth about God, because you're going to hear a lot of untruths about God, things that don't make any sense and are going to confuse you. But keep going to who is God. He's loving, he's good, and keep looking at all the wonderful, truthful things about God. That helps a lot.
Yeah, just go through his attributes. Who he is: gracious, compassionate, kind. On and on and on.
Yes. So for the person that's listening today, they might be asking God why. about some aspect of your life, or maybe wondering if hope will ever return, these words of encouragement here today from Steve and Sandy can apply to you as well. Wow, you guys, this has been absolutely amazing, but I always like to ask my guests these priority living questions, and I do tailor them a little bit depending upon the topic of discussion. So I think these will be appropriate here. This is a little bit not really rapid fire, but a little faster. We'll just go through some questions here as we wrap up. This has been absolutely extraordinary today. So, what matters more to you today than it did 20 plus years ago?
How big, how good, and what a promise keeper God is to me.
Sandy, I'll direct this one to you. What priority has suffering taught you never to neglect?
I would say worshiping God. And that comes through being in community with others to help you, being willing to ask for help. It all comes down to being with the Lord, never giving up on that.
Wow. Steve, what legacy do you hope your story leaves with people?
I thought about this when I think it's the value of importance at growing to love God more. Not to just say it, but to value the importance of pursuing it. And that's got to be intentional. That just can't come by wishing or by thinking. It takes some action.
Love that. Beautiful. One last question. I'll ask both of you this. Sandy, you can go first. What does living with purpose mean to you now?
I feel like whether it's walking through a difficult situation and or a joyful situation, to continue to have gratitude in my life and have eyes to see His goodness.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Beautiful.
purpose for me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would say that acknowledging the fact that as a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, He has placed within each of us His Holy Spirit. And so to follow the promptings and leadings that come from the Spirit to do what Sandy alluded to do what He wants me to do. Not to follow my own fleshy, human desires, but really be looking inward to see what it is that the Spirit is calling me to do and to act on.
Wow, I feel the just the sweetness of your answers, both of you in this. So I just want to close before we wrap up. Is there anything of your story that had on your heart to share that I didn't ask you about, or anything that you would like to add as a way of just speaking encouragement or hope over the one listening today?
We both just love Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. To trust in the Lord with all our heart. Trusting in Him when you're suffering is really, really hard. It's sometimes the last thing you want to do, but to seek to trust Him.
And I think unknowingly or not unwittingly, I think what I just said a second ago, it comes next, which is lean not on your own understanding, but listen, press in. Those around you that are walking with the Lord that would give you wise and loving counsel can be heard, can be sought out for maybe correction, but maybe encouragement.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. And so in all your ways, acknowledge him.
And he will make your
path straight. So that verse has been really helpful to us to memorize and to remember and to have on our wall to keep trusting, no matter what you go through, to keep trusting that God will carry you through. He will help you. And give you joy.
Beautiful.
God is good.
Yeah. Wow. So I just love you guys so much. I thank you for sharing your story with us. And at the beginning, I said that this is going to be a journey of when life doesn't go according to plan, finding hope through every chapter. And we sure have seen some twists and turns to your story, and we're seeing hope in where you are today, 54 years of marriage. And thank you for being my guest today. Thank you for being my friend. And thank you for being my guest. I'm so grateful for both of you. And I know that you're helping so many people. So friends that are listening, you probably know someone that could benefit from hearing Steve and Sandy's story. So will you please share this episode? Will you like it? Will you subscribe if you've not yet done so to the podcast? And if you're a first timer here, thank you for being a guest of mine as we journey together on the Priority Living podcast. And until next time, I'm your host, Coach Bill, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, I'm your coach, Bill Goodwin, reminding you to live intentionally, lead powerfully, and make your life count.